and he's been talking to Ger Canning.
Jim, semi-final day, and we're ready to rock and roll. What are your thoughts?
Well, I suppose, Jerry, we're looking forward to it. You know, the fellas have worked very, very hard all year, and I suppose we're looking forward to the game now. They've put in a big effort as well, I suppose, since the last game, and you know, they seem to be in good form there, and they're looking forward to it, as I said, and hopefully now they can go out and perform.
What are you looking for from your players? Because in the past you've taken the view, go out, express yourself, enjoy yourselves.
Well, obviously we're trying to build on the good defensive work that we've done all year, and then if we can get our offensive game kicked into gear today, it'll be a huge plus for us, and probably feel we need that, you know, if we're going to try and push on against a really top-class Dublin team, you know. And I suppose athletically as well, around the middle of the park, and I suppose the three middle lines, Dublin have a lot of pace, power and speed, and we're going to have to be able to match that if we're going to be able to compete with them.
That's the Donegal manager, Jim McGuinness. Now, a little bit earlier in the week, I met up with the Dublin manager, Pat Gilroy, and these were his views on today's semi-final.
I think, you know, one of the key things there is to be patient and to maintain our composure right throughout the game and stick to the kind of things that we've worked on to outperform them. And you know, you have to have faith in what you're doing and collectively work as a group. And stick with the game plan, and you know, I think eventually, you know, we've played against systems like this over the last 2 years, and I think that's the key to them. If you keep the composure, then eventually you get the opportunities.
Yeah, a big day today, of course, for all of these players, and during the week we met up with two of them, one from each side. Now, in a little while we'll be hearing from the Donegal camp, but first let's get the views of Dublin's Barry Cahill. Now, when I met up with the St. Bridget's man a few days ago, we talked about his hopes of making up for the disappointments of last year.
The last minute of normal time, about 20 seconds to go, and O'Connor has slotted it over the bar. Dublin have fallen short in yet another semi-final.
I've been involved in a few semi-finals myself over the last few years and come out on the wrong end of it by a point or two 4 or 5 times. So, you know, there's big motivation going into Sunday's game.
That was not a clever challenge at all.
12 months ago we were in the same position going into playing against Cork, and sort of left it behind us that day, so hopefully we'll be able to make up for it. Probably a lot of people were building up Tyrone leading into the game, and then when we beat them by 7 or 8 points, you know, they're putting them back down again. But you know, we were just focused on our own performance. We knew that there was a big performance in us, but we know we'll have to put in another one now against Donegal. Pat has given a vote of confidence to the team to start the last day and put in a good performance against Tyrone. But in fairness, there's a lot of lads, you know, competing very hard to get into the starting 15, and you know, I think the last 20 minutes will be very important in the match. You know, with subs coming on, and hopefully any of the lads who do come on will be able to make a big impact. As the summer gets longer, you know, the hype and the expectation becomes that bit more greater. So it's just part and parcel of playing with Dublin, and you know, you got to deal with it as best we can. Maybe once or twice we haven't really dealt with it as well as we should have, but you know, I think you know, things have been progressing nicely for us this year, and you know, there's going to be a sellout crowd there, so be looking forward to it. You know, we've played it in front of big crowds before, so I'm sure that won't affect any of the lads. Well, Donegal have been very impressive this year. You know, for the whole year really, they've been very consistent throughout the league, and then in the 5 championship matches they played to date. And you know, people say they're a bit more defensive, and obviously they bring a lot of players back, and they're going to try and shut down areas and try and shut down, you know, the likes of Dermot Connolly and Alan and Bernard Brogan, who are our main scorers. So you know, it's going to be very difficult, and it'll probably be maybe a low-scoring game compared to some of the games we've been involved with. But you don't mind that once you come out the right side of it.
That's Dublin's Barry Cahill there, Pat Spillane. Dublin have stuck with the same team. Now, even if they were going to make any changes, or considering all that, there was one man who was always going to be in this team. Of course, that's their goalkeeper, Stephen Cluxton, who's become the stalwart of the side over the years. Yeah,
he's the best goalkeeper in the modern day game, in my opinion, and he's redefined the role of modern day goalkeeping in the sense that he acts very much as a sort of 7th defender. His kick-outs are brilliant, and this year now, he used to be going short, now he's going much longer and finding his man. Excellent kick-outs. He's the launching pad of so many attacks. He has great vision, great distribution. He's the 4th highest scorer
That's
in the
right.
Dublin team this year with 8 points, 7 from 45s and 1 free. And yet, at the same time, he hasn't forgot his primary duty, which is as a shot stopper. And Dublin have conceded only 2 goals out of the 4 games in this year's championship. A great keeper and a great head, great vision, great distribution. A very composed player, great keeper.
He is a very good goalkeeper. He leads his defence to be on the ball. There's much talks, Colm, about the Donegal defence, but in actual fact, it's the Dublin defence that you want to talk about.
Yeah, well, you know, Donegal got a sort of a bad name as being ultra defensive, and they are ultra defensive, but it's a bit like the kettle calling the pot black with Dublin as well, because Dublin have changed their game to be very defensive as well, and this came about really after Meath last year lashed in 5 goals and Pat Gilroy reorganised the defence, and he's put 2 wing forwards whose primary duties are really defenders, Brian Cullen and Paul Flynn. And in the game against Tyrone, I know it's been shown quite times before, but the number of Dublin players in the shot there every time a Tyrone player got possession, and they didn't foul. Now it was borderline stuff and different referee could have given a few frees, but again, every time a player got the ball, a Tyrone player got the ball, he was immediately surrounded, and even if he beat one man, there was always somebody else coming in. They're disciplined and they're good blockers of the ball. Paul Flynn getting back there, and Flynn and Cullen for me are, you know, important men in this. There you have Flynn. They're very, very good athletes. They cover an enormous amount of ground. You see Brian Cullen, immediately he's beaten by one player, gets back and gets in a tackle. In this case, it's a free on Kevin Hughes. But, you know, the Dublin defensive style is just as important to them as to Donegal. The big difference is Dublin have a bit more flair up front.
We saw Dublin against Tyrone there, of course. That day, Jim McConnell gets scores and more than the opposition. So where are they going to come from?
Well, and certainly their scoring rate, take outside of the extra time against Kildare, their scoring rate has been only 12 points per game. But what the point I'm trying to make here is that Donegal have damn good forwards, and when they want to be positive, when they want to throw off the shackles, they can do it and they can score. 3 points down against Kildare in the second period of extra time, and they scored 4 unanswered points. 1 from Michael Murphy, this one there from Rory Kavanagh, and of course the final point, which is an absolutely brilliant point, from Kevin Cassidy. But at this stage, look at the number of Donegal players that have pushed up and gone forward. I mean, so for Donegal to win today, I think the one thing about Donegal is they still play with too much fear, and I think for them to win today, they've got to throw the shackles off. They've got to be more positive, because their attacking statistics up to date, they basically play 3 in the forwards. 3 of their forwards have averaged a point or less per game. Against Tyrone, only 2 of their forwards scored from play. In the first 38 minutes against Kildare, they got 3 points from play. So I'm just trying to say is that they have an excellent defensive system, but they have damn good forwards that sometimes you've got to say, right, we're going to place a bit of faith and trust me, go forward and score.
But it's a deliberate decision, Pat. I mean, don't forget that 12 months ago, Armagh beat these boys by 10 points in Crossmaglen in the qualifiers. They were abject. Donegal have been abject.
I can understand that, Joe, but the point I'm trying to make is they must change.
I understand what you're saying, but what they say is this. They say, OK, we know that our scoring rate's low, but we've planned for that. This is our decision. Tactically, this is the way we're going to go. Come and get us, you know, and it's worked today. I mean, they're not all in the semi-final.
I know that.
OK, time to get news of how the teams are going to line out today. We're going to head over to the commentary box to hear from Ger Canning and Kevin Max.
Particular, Kevin.
Well, on the Dublin side, we're going to have a look at Paul Flynn. They're 10. He's having a terrific season, and I'd say in many ways is the modern Dublin footballer. A modest guy, very athletic, very selfless, and all-round competent. At Carl Lacey this time, Ger, bigger, stronger, faster. He's been outstanding in 2011. 2-time All-Star, as you say, he's one of the country's top defenders. Marvellous player. He'd contribute. They're low average, their concession rate, he's excellent at that. He's in the mix for Player of the Year, he's mobile. Watch for his tackling prowess, an outstanding footballer.
So the rain continues to...
Highest scorer, Stephen Cluxton, and the reality is that if Connolly and Brogan, if the clamp is put on them as it was by Kildare and it was by Wexford, then they do struggle for scores. The big thing that Donegal have to do here is stop Dublin playing champagne football, because once they start to exude confidence, and I'm as certain as I can be that they'll do that, unless Dublin manage to get in for a freak early goal. And after that, you've got to say that the question that remains for the Dubs is, can you trust them? 30 years, the last big test was 83 when they came through it in the All-Ireland final against Galway. Since then, no big test. Look at Donegal against Kildare, massive test. 3 points down. Dublin have never come through a test like that. That's the big question for them.
As you'd expect, the atmosphere really building up here at Croke Park. Joe Brolly, the winner.
Well, I think that Donegal are a fanatical underdog. They'll never stop. They'll be absolutely remorseless. I do agree that there's a problem and getting sufficient scores. But I think that, I mean, the best I'm going to say about this is I expect a titanic battle. I mean, I would not write Donegal off for a second here.
Pat?
Yeah, I would expect a titanic battle. I expect this game to go down to the wire. It won't be probably a game for the purists, but it'll be intense. And I just think that Dublin are in a better place, provided two things. Provided they show patience, because they're going to be in a battle day. Patience is required. But I just think they're in a better position, they're in a better place than they were this time last year, and they're a year ahead of Donegal in terms of progress.
If this game does end up in a draw, there's talks of a replay next Saturday afternoon back here at Croke Park, Colin O'Rourke. Will it be a replay, or will we have a winner?
I think we'll have a winner. I expect it to be Dublin. I think Dublin have a bit more class, and I think they have better individual players in more of the important positions. I think Dublin are too reliant on Murphy up front, and I can see McFadden being tied up on Donegal, and of course Rory O'Carroll, Michael Murphy in the last year's under-21 All-Ireland final. Now Murphy played quite well in that game, but O'Carroll did quite well too, so you know there's a bit of history there between them. But to me, it's going to be a low-scoring, intensely fought game, but it could be quite enjoyable, even though it's like that, and I expect Dublin to win.
Hopefully it will. We see Christy Toy down there on the pitch, by the way, gentlemen. We have to see what that's all about. We'll be joining who's going to be joining Kerry there in this year's All-Ireland football final. Time to head back to Ger Canning and Kevin.
Round right now, what there is might be just going across the field. Maurice Deegan from Laois, All-Ireland final referee back in 2008, is in charge. Dublin there with Dennis Bastick and Michael Darragh. Macaulay, and the semi-final gets underway. And Michael Murphy came out onto the 40 to try and get the opening possession there. Kicked in by Dennis Bastick. That scramble for possession over there, taken by Eamon McGee. He's playing anyway. So too is Rory Kavanagh. Back up as far as Mark McHugh. He expected to do a roving job. That was fisted by Paul Flynn there. Referee has seen something off the ball there, some holding, and it's got to be a free for Dublin. He's done a great job, Jim McGuinness. First year in charge, Division 2 league winners, Ulster champions, first time in 19 years. Back once again, Cassidy now. Here's Mark McHugh, will play deep. Christy Toy, challenged high by James McCarthy, knows he can't do that. Needs to be more disciplined.
Yep, a high one, has to be a free in, and he's going to have a little chat with him as well.
More than that, could be a yellow card. Will be. Opening yellow card. That's very early to be picking up a yellow card, just 8 minutes in. But James McCarthy, whose dad John played in 6 All-Ireland finals in a row back in the 70s, winning 3 of them. So this time it's going to be Colin McFadden hitting it with the left boot. Just inside the 45-metre line. Teacher from St Michael's, giving it a lot of effort and direction, and he puts it over the bar. Delighted Donegal fans all around Croke Park. Ger Brennan for Dublin, looking to try and get Michael Darragh Macaulay more into the game. Kept in play there by Paul Flynn, but to Donegal's advantage. Thompson did well to give it to McGlynn. Christy Toy, again the ball given away. Too many turnovers, or giving the possession to the opponents. Alan Brogan, big deep one in. And the goalkeeper required, Paul Durkin. The referee is out quickly and whistles. He's given a free kick.
Well, this is the key part of this game in the build-up, how the referee was going to referee the tackle. He judges that one to be a free in. It's 50-50,
but they get the other, isn't it?
But he gets the bounce this time. But this is a key for the whole match, how the tackle area and the collision area, as they might say in another code, is refereed.
That time ruling against Neil McGee, so Bernard Brogan from straight in front of the post levels up the match. Both sides getting their points from frees. One for Colin McFadden, one for Bernard Brogan, the two number 15s, a point apiece.
Here it is again, a little bit more detail this time. Is it a foul?
Was he holding him back? Mark McHugh. Again, his role is essentially to play back there around the half-back line. Neil McGee. Frank McGlynn. It's not easy on the eye. Murphy. Now David Walsh. So many hand passes. Christy Toy. Ready to take off Pasquier and O'Sullivan. Toy now went so far, almost got a nosebleed, looking for support, finally kicking it. Nobody in there, absolutely nobody, except goalkeeper Stephen Cloxton. Beyond Paul Flynn, and it breaks kindly now for Alan Brogan. A man with a real creative flair, but as I say it, he just puts it outside the post, and that's the second one he's driven wide on the right-hand side.
And again, the same point applies. Once he sees the defenders coming towards him, his first tendency is to go for the shot from distance, even if he's not comfortable or it's not really on. His brother Bernard came off his marker, might have got a ball inside, but he said, no, I'll have a go for it, another wide.
Christy Toy holding it up for Frank McGlynn. Ger Brennan again closes the space. Dublin now getting all the players back. Quick check on the numbers, and I think they have got 10 players back as well now. Rory Kavanagh trying to make the insertion in there. Hands and knees job, got it as far as McFadden. It's a mad scramble. Cassidy next. How many players can we get around Cassidy? I'm sure the Dubs are thinking. Finally getting it out as far as Ryan Bradley. Chance to shoot, he did it against Antrim in the opening day of the championship. Got two then, he's got one here, and that's the first point to come from play. And it's in the 24th minute. 2 points to 1 Donegal lead, and a good old distance out when Ryan Bradley got his 5th point of this year's championship. James McCarthy now. Alan Brogan. Quick ball in. That's a little better into Bernard Brogan. They've got to quicken the tempo a bit more, Dublin, you would think. They've got to use the flanks a great deal more also.
Got out in front of his man. Bernard is showing well in front of his man, and he is dangerous.
Lots of jeering from the Donegal fans this time, but now there's nothing to Bernard Brogan as he kicks over his second pointed free and levels the game after 25 minutes here. 2 points apiece.
Well, the talk in the build-up of this about parking the bus across the defence, Ger, they've brought the fleet with them, both teams. It's terrible to look at. It really, really is.
Bit of a shambles so far. Eamon McGee. Dublin now getting players back again. 102 hand passes so far. What chance we'll make 200 or 300 before the finish. That was a good kick. That was much more like it. And that was Kevin Cassidy, the star of the quarter-final, kicking it from distance and putting it over the bar and putting Donegal in front by 3 points to 2. Great score. 5 minutes to the break. That's on as far as Lacey, twice an all-star. Again, a thronged midfield. Christy Toy tries to get through the clutter. Donegal hold on. David Walsh. Colin McFadden with the left peg. It's a beautiful looking shot. His second. First from a free. This one from play. And Donegal have doubled their advantage. They lead by 4 points to 2. This is really good scoring now by Donegal. They've got the last few points.
Of the half-time score in this All-Ireland football semi-final, Donegal leading Dublin by 4 points to 2. Colin O'Rourke, Pat Spillane and Joe Brolly here with me. I met a woman up the corridor there just before half-time, Pat. She said,
were you leaving?
I was attempting to leave, but the doors are locked.
Get back.
She said this is like watching paint dry, and she's from Donegal and they're winning.
Michael, I don't know what to say. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. I can understand the effectiveness of this defensive system. I can understand that they're not in the business of entertainment, and I can understand that it's all about results. And Donegal people won't give a tuppenny if they win the All-Ireland producing this sort of football. But heaven help us, Michael. If this is the way the game of Gaelic football is going to go, because I've seen the apocalypse there in the last 38 minutes. Remember that tribe in Iraq, the Shiite tribe? Well, we've watched Shiite football for the last... you know, there's people go to The Hague for war. There's people go to The Hague, Michael, for war crimes. I'm telling you this, some of the coaches nowadays, and some of the coaches should be for crimes against Gaelic football. This was awful.
This is that line that Marlon Brando had in Apocalypse Now, the horror.
The horror. The horror. The horror.
I was saying before, and I was only half joking, that Donegal, you know, I mean, it's sort of the road towards nothingness in a way that, you know, you could see at some stage in the future a zero-sum game where you go 1 or 2 points up and that would be sufficient. I mean, it's absolutely fascinating in my view what's happening out there. You know, I agree. I mean, obviously it's not entertaining from that perspective, but it's fascinating to see that. I mean, what I was saying before, and you know, Enda Muldoon said, I think it's a great line after the Ulster final, nothing can prepare you for this. Like, I'm shocked. This was 2 weeks afterwards. And you know, I was saying before, like, nothing can prepare the Dublin players for that, because you know, you can't defy the laws of physics. Jim McGuinness has just thought it out and he said, okay, well, we'll double mark. They're two good forwards. We'll let them have the ball in their own half. It means that we're going to have difficulty scoring. But what they do in training, they work on scoring like that under pressure. Their game is entirely one-tracked. And therefore, the difficulty with it is, unentertaining it may be.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it is marvellously successful.
Yes,
and you can see now that Dublin are panicking, they're getting agitated, they're kicking the ball up in the air.
Yeah, but it may have come as a surprise to Enda Muldoon and his teammates at the time, but Dublin were prepared for this. They knew this is what was going to happen.
Nothing prepares you for this, Michael.
And they still don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, and they've become completely frustrated, and the Dublin crowd have become frustrated, which is only adding to the confidence of the Donegal team. And the Donegal supporters, the vast majority of them, are quite enjoying what they're after seeing, because their team is in front and look at this stage to be heading for the final, unless Dublin can have a major rethink. And they must get players up the wings, because they cannot get them through the middle, and they must change the ball from side to side and must stop Alan Brogan trying silly shots from the wing. So, you know, this game is being played entirely on Donegal's terms at the moment, and negative and all as it be, it's up to other teams to come up with a system of beating them.
It's easier said than done, Colin. It's easier said than done. Donegal, since the moment that Jim McGuinness came in, he did this with Glenties. People were stunned when they won a county championship. They hated it. They'd never seen it before. He did it with their under-21s last year, who were useless at minor level. You know, and the problem with it is they've been doing this 4 or 5 sessions a week for 9 months. Nothing else. It's a single-track plan. One of his mantras is, there's no plan B, boys. There's no plan B. They will remorselessly continue to do this. Now, the only modification that I can see in the second half is that the word, as I said at the very start of the programme, the word coming out of Letterkenny on Friday night was they were going to be even more defensive in the first half. Put 13 men behind the ball. They did that. Now, I suspect that they may release one of those 13 into the forward line.
The two problems I have with it, Michael, the two problems I have, look, it's a very effective system and it gets the results. I can accept that. I can buy into that. We're very lucky here. We're getting paid to watch that. If I paid €50 or €60 to pay that, I'd be complaining. Is this the game that you want? Is this the sort of game you'd like your youngsters to aspire to play? I'm just saying, there's a bigger issue at stake here, the game of Gaelic football, and what sort of a game of Gaelic football do we want it to be? Okay, we're not living in Cuckoo Land, the Shangri-La game doesn't exist, but we want a game of Gaelic football that resembles a bit of Gaelic football.
We've picked Colin O'Rourke a few examples of the Donegal defender. We could have picked the whole first half probably, but this kind of sums it up maybe.
Well, I said before the game that I thought maybe it would be 6 points to 3 at half-time. I didn't think it would even be less than that. But Dublin were fairly silly in the way they kept kicking the ball in repeatedly into positions where their men were totally outnumbered. And they weren't, like, there's Bernard Brogan kicking the ball. There's 6 Donegal men around and makes life very difficult. Dublin are going to have to push up McCarthy and Kevin Nolan, the wings, and try and get more men. I know it'll congest the area more, but they're behind. They have to chase the game. Donegal can continue to sit back and play the way they are.
But one of the problems with the theory that you can somehow, you know, counter this is that it is entirely against footballers' natural instincts to play this way. You know, I mean, what Jim McGuinness has taught them to do something that's totally unnatural. It's just not what you want to do. What's the point in, you know, going out on your own in the morning and taking a bag of balls with you and kicking them over the bar? But you know, your normal instinct as a footballer is to play. Dublin like to rock and roll. They like to play champion football. Yeah, but so this is the antidote of all antidotes to that.
We take another break here on the programme. Back with more from Croke Park straight after that. We'll also be giving you
second half underway, 4-2. Donegal in front, and Michael Haggerty gets his very first possession. Over the head that time of McGrath. Whatever breeze there is very, very light, so it's not a factor. This is a good run forward by Michael Murphy, knifing his way through the heart of the Dublin defence, meaning business, dishing it off as far as McFadden. He's got a goal chance. He's got to be content with a point. That was a great opportunity.
Oh, if he puts that a wager as he should have, what a battle Dublin would have then. But it's gone over the bar just with the sheer power of the shot. Didn't place it. Bang, over the bar.
McMahon now. Paul Flynn. Given some great displays for Dublin in League and Championship this year. McMahon again slips, tries to take it. The number 25 coming in to take possession. Alan Brogan. Donegal quite anxious, and in their anxiety on occasions they step in and foul their man, and again they're thinking about bringing up Cluxton to take this. There he is. 54th championship match for Stephen Cluxton. Mighty glad to see Colin McFadden boot that ball over the bar and not into his net, because he's kept 33 clean sheets in the previous 53 matches.
Now there's the point I was telling you about, the Donegal men trying to get very close to the free taker.
Well, it should be 30 metres back as that's hit in, and it's nicely over by Cluxton. First pointed free by Stephen Cluxton. It's been a bumper year for Donegal when you think about it. Starting out in Division 2, nobody really expecting very much from them. 2 matches played in the championship last season, 2 matches lost. Now here they are in the All-Ireland semi-final and ahead by 5 points to 3. 7 minutes into the second half. Michael Murphy to hit this free from just outside the 65-metre line, but again prepared to hold possession, not take a chance. McHugh, or rather Haggerty. That time the shoulder came in from McMahon. It looked a fair shoulder.
The referee is indicating the shoulder was into his back. I would like to see it again. Here we go, just watch the contact. Yes, in fairness to the referee, partially into his back. Well, square enough too, I suppose, on that angle. That's the pressure the referees are under. Instant call. This time Donegal get it.
Free kick for Donegal is going to be taken anyway by Colin McFadden. He's about 35 metres out from the target. It's connected well. Has it got the direction to get inside the left-hand post? It has. 4 points for Colin McFadden, leading scorer for Donegal. There's an edginess now all around Croke Park. You can sense it among the Dublin fans. Not being able to get the measure of the Donegal challenge. Huge task for Pat Gilroy and his team. Over 200 hand passes now by Donegal. 20 minutes to play. What say you that they will get to 300? That's dragged down. It's got to be a free in. Chance for Dublin to cut the deficit to 2 points. Bernard Brogan prepared to take it. He's got 2 of their 3 points so far. The other one, of course, the free by Cluxton. What has so far been a miserable day for Dublin.
But on the scoreboard, nothing really in it. Just a kick of a ball, as it were. 3 points. This will make it 2.
He's got it. First of the second half for him. All of their scores from frees.
And Brogan really made this himself. The break came to him. He was quickest to react and pulled to the ground, free in. So he's executing well. That's his 3rd one. And as I said, you're still only 2 points in it. Anybody's game.
He's got to take a bit more of that. A bit of dash, a bit of determination, a bit of bravery to go in and maybe draw fouls and free kicks.
Push on, be positive and go for the game. That's both teams could do a bit of it and they could find themselves in the final.
McMahon. Fisted away by McGlynn for Donegal. Back again to McMahon. Ger Brennan now. Driving forward. Still driving forward. Support player here, McMenamin. To check his stride before getting possession. Delayed him just a fraction. But there's space here now with Bastic. Can move it on here quickly. Flynn. Donegal with 14 players back. And that went off Eamon McGee. 45 metres the outcome. And Cluxton ready to come up and take it. And if this goes over, there'll be 1 between them. The jeering is from the Donegal fans, but he's looking into Hill 16. It's full of Dublin supporters, willing this one to go over the bar. They almost drew it in with their breaths. It's a one-point game, 6-5.
Casual, beautiful strike on the wrong side for a Kittoga course. But look at that, splitting the posture. Absolutely beautiful kick. Lots of confidence.
We could have plenty of drama now for the remaining minutes of this match. Maybe not the entertainment level we had wished for, but drama aplenty. Durkin kicking. Winning possession here now, Vattel. Alan Brogan's after it. After him is Frank McGlynn. Alan Brogan gets to it. This time Rory Kavanagh putting in the challenge. Still Brogan kicking off his left. Out comes the goalkeeper. He's dropped it and it's rolled into the net. And the referee has disallowed the goal. And it's going to be a free out and it's not going to count. Referee was about 30 metres away from the action at the time. Despair for the Dublin fans. This is what happened again here as Paul Durkin was put under pressure there by Kevin McMenamin. He dropped it, but the referee gave the free kick to Donegal. First of all, he was in the square.
In the back,
and he was in the back as well.
I'm not even so sure it was a small rectangle call. I'd say it was the foul on the keeper turf.
Into Rory Kavanagh, Donegal hoping to get the next score. Back it comes to David Walsh. Held on to by Colin McFadden. A lot of work to do from here to try and make it possible. So checking his stride. There was one player inside waiting for it, and he gives it away. And Cian O'Sullivan's won it for Dublin. And now Philly McMahon can kick it down as far as Alan Brogan, inside his own half of the field still. Kicked on to McMenamin, who's got space near the sideline. Trying to work it in here, trying to take on McHugh first of all. Then Diarmuid Connolly blocked there. Comes back to Cassidy. Connolly again. 20 metres out, and that's a free in. Chance to level it.
And it needn't have been a free in because of the poor reaction.
Oh, that's Diarmuid Connolly there against Marty Boyle. And you saw the fisticuffs and the pushing and shoving. And the referee to step in and play the role of peacemaker. It'd be a free to Dublin.
Well, he could change his mind now, of course, for retaliation, and what a loss that would be.
The linesman is Rory Hickey. Now, he may well be saying to him, you've got to change your decision. As Maurice Deegan says, hold on a while. Might not be a free kick to Dublin. As you say, Kevin, it could change it.
You've got to keep your discipline when these things are on a knife edge. He's gone.
Oh, it's a red. Diarmuid Connolly sent off. Oh dear. This is what happened. We saw the use of fists, but it really was silly.
Yeah, silly stuff. And he's changed the decision.
Donegal have the possession back. Michael Murphy again. Hagerty, let him run on. He runs as far as Kevin Nolan. Dublin have got to be daring. And maybe McMenamin from Bernard Brogan's pass. He's got three defenders against him. He still manages to get the left boot to it and force it over the bar to level the game. Kevin McMenam's first point, and the teams are level for the third time in this match. And that was a straight red card, of course, as well for Diarmuid Connolly. So if Dublin reached the All-Ireland final, he would not be part of the team.
There might be a few meetings before that, I'd say, if they get there.
Ger Brennan. Back towards Philly McMahon. 12 men from Dublin have won an All-Ireland final in the past. Can 14 now win a semi-final against 15 here? It's Michael Darragh-Macaulay giving it out to O'Gara. His first contribution. It's a brilliant block down there. I think it was Paddy McGrath. It's still a chance here. Cullen over the bar, and Dublin lead. Brian Cullen keeps up his record of getting a point a game in championship matches. Match number 5. This was the block here by Paddy McGrath initially from O'Gara's shot, and when it was recycled back across the face of goal, it was a composed Brian Cullen who took his time and put it over to make it 7-6. And Donegal now have to start taking chances. This plan of keeping loads and loads of bodies back is hardly going to work when they're a point behind and only 5 minutes to go. There was a tug on the Dublin player.
The pull was on Bernard Brogan as he darted to the corner, Ger.
So in front of a packed hill, in front of 81,500 people, Bernard Brogan can kick his 4th point from a free. He's rattled it up and over. They all count, and it's 8-6. Dublin so near to reaching an All-Ireland final for the first time in 16 years. Back again to Ger Brennan this time. On towards Owen O'Gara. Across towards McMenamin again. Working solidly. Going by Ryan Bradley. Still he goes. Built strongly. Diving save in the end. Michael Dara McCauley keeping it in. Back it comes towards Bernard Brogan.
Well, McMenamin should have put that over the bar. I don't know what he was thinking about there. Trying to pick out Dara McCauley. Okay, bit of an idea, but not a great one.
It's about getting to the final. It's about getting there on the 18th of September. Kerry are there. Dublin are there. The Dubs were down to 14 players from the 58th minute when Diarmuid Connolly was red carded. The fans don't care how they managed to reach the final, as Pat Gilroy and Jim McGuinness have a word. So now we can start thinking in terms of Kerry v Dublin. Last time it was the 2009 quarter-final. The margin of victory was 17 points then for Kerry. Dublin now know the challenge at the end of this semi-final at Croke Park. It's Dublin 8 points, Donegal 6.
They did it. They turned it around.
Yeah, an amazing thing to turn around, because it looked as if the game was all going Donegal's way. But I have to say I'm glad that Dublin win, because Donegal reduced this game to a shambles, and in a cynical sort of way too. And in the end of the day, the better team won. The team with at least a bit of positive football about them. I think this was the game from hell, and eventually decide with a bit more football ability. And Donegal have only themselves to blame. They had the game under control, and they wouldn't come out of an attack. They could have gone 5 or 6 points up when they had control early in the second half, and they got what they deserved out, which is nothing. And I'm not disappointed, because, you know, we talked about it half time. If that was the face of football for the future, then I think most of us would not be too interested in going to see games. Donegal would say, well, you know, we cut our cloth to suit, but, you know, there has to be a bigger picture here, and, you know, if that's what they're going to provide, then most people wouldn't want to see it.
One thing for sure, Pat, it wasn't great football, as everybody
You're spot on,
knows. Thanks, I figured it out myself.
That's an understatement.
But it was edge of the seat stuff.
It was edge of the seat stuff. Today was a victory for Dublin and a victory for Gaelic football. I would agree with all the comments that Colin made. I mean, Gaelic football, as Donegal wanted to reduce it to, would degenerate into a shambles. A game which involved one team stopping the other team from playing. And thankfully, the one team who wanted to play football, who were a little bit more positive, Dublin, won the game. And they won it because we've seen them 3 times this year falling behind. We saw it twice, once against Wexford, falling behind, playing badly. Today, falling behind. And against Kildare, they had 14 men. With 15 minutes to go today, they went down to 14 men. And in fairness to these lads, they've shown great composure, great leadership. And what they did at half-time, Michael, was what we asked them, or we said they should be doing. They introduced McMenamin, who introduced more tempo, ran it, but they played the game at a much greater pace. They played the game with much greater variety. I mean, heaven help us when you think about it, that a team who scored 2 points from play actually got to semi-final. But they deserved it. But look, bottom line is, look, Donegal were set up to stop. They had no plan B to try to win. They went the last 30 minutes of the game without scoring. And just when they were 3 points behind, 1 second, Joe, finally, when they were 3 points behind and 2 points behind, they played with one attacker up front. That's trying to empty a bat with a fork.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't understand it, because I was sitting with Colin and we thought, well, look, you know, now Donegal are going to commit, because they had no need to have so many players back, and you would have thought at that stage that apart from anything else, in a team where tactical acumen is important, you know, and that's what it's all about, they would have said at that stage, well, look, you're going to attack, you're going to attack. But to continue with that, I mean, Michael Murphy didn't come into the forwards until the 65th minute of the game.
One of the best forwards in the game.
Well, that's right, you know, and I mean, 6 points isn't enough, and I mean, it is right to say, like, it's entirely unromantic fair. I mean, like, where's the glory in that?
But you were fascinated by it at half-time.
No, it's a different thing to enjoy it, to see the thing unfolding and to see how, I mean, it was, you know, in a way, it's mental stuff. you say like it's anti-football.
It is anti-football.
But it is fascinating to watch it unfolding and to see someone who's got the balls to actually bring that game into a public arena like this. I mean, they're the Ulster.
Do you mean like fascinating, like seeing a plane crash or something?
Well, yeah, fascinating. You know, I mean,
certainly not in terms of entertainment and quality, Joe.
The Ulster final. You know, people were groaning. I mean, against Kildare in the first half, the Kildare people were actually booing, and neutrals around me were saying, "This is." But there's mad stuff.
Listen,
you know,
there's commentators.
There is a fascination in it. But the point is this: that even in that context, if 10 minutes into the second half, when Donegal went 3 points up, they had said, right, well, let's release a few players now. Let's put Michael Murphy into the full forward line. We'll resume. Because this is the most defensive they've played.
The commentators all during the week were having a go at us because we're saying it's too negative, it's too defensive, and we're traditionalists and romantics, and they're saying the way to go is the screen defence, this blanket defence. It's all about getting defences right. It's
Dublin are doing it as well, Pat.
They are, but at the end of the day, and we said it last week again, the team that are more positive, the team with the better quality forwards will always win. And that's exactly what happened.
I said to you, Colin O'Rourke, when Jim O'Connelly was sent off, it's not actually going to make any difference. In fact, it didn't.
No, absolutely, because you never had isolated man-on-man. It was all a bunch of wild dogs running around scavenging for sort of possession in the game. But, you know, Dublin weren't much brighter in the second half. McManaman made a huge difference, there's no doubt about that. But they still continued doing a huge amount of silly things. But when they did get level, you could see that Donegal had no idea how to cope with this, and especially when Dublin got a point in front.
But also, Colin, you must give credit, I think, here to Dublin for showing a lot of character there, because they were in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, it certainly tested their nerve. It tested the nerve of everybody in the field, on the line, the supporters, the whole lot. And it wouldn't have taken much more for, you know, Donegal to push them over the edge there at that time. Now, they just about held their nerve, but it was a very difficult thing to do anything against that Donegal team the way they were set up. Very, very difficult.
But at the same time, they did. Donegal let them off the hook whenever you thought Donegal would start to ratchet up the pressure. So the Dubs knew they didn't have to get that many scores. I mean, the two crucial scores were frees that were given when the ball was kicked in speculatively to Bernard Brogan. And that's all really it required, a couple of scores.
Like I said, sometimes during a game, you need, like I said, at the start of the game, to throw the shackles off. You need to abandon the plan. With 15 minutes to go, suddenly you found yourself ahead with an extra man. So suddenly you should be using that extra man. You should be pressing home your advantage. And instead, they were indoctrinated into this defensive system, which they're very good at. But unfortunately, they had no plan B. They weren't able to read it. Great players and great teams. You can coach them so much. You can give them so much information. But at the end of the day, they must think for themselves at times as well, and Donegal weren't thinking for themselves. When the opportunity was there, they didn't seize it.
Would Kerry prefer to have Donegal or Dublin in the final?
Dublin.
Well, now you'll have a game of football in here. You have two footballing sides. Dublin, yes, they're Dublin set up defensively as well. But Dublin are positive. They'll play. They've good attacking football. You'll get a decent final now against. You'll get a great final. I think you'll get a great final. Yeah. If you had a Kerry Donegal final, you'd get another turkey of a game like that, where all the double-decker buses are parked in front of the goal, and they'll say, right, try to get around it, Gooch.
Yeah, but they would get around it because the Kerry half-backs have scoring ability. The Kerry aspects of the game, I think.
All right, let's get the thoughts then of the Dublin manager, Pat Gilroy. He's talking to Claire McNamara.
Pat, congratulations, you're there, you're finally in the All-Ireland final.
Yeah, I mean, that's all semi-finals are about, is about getting over them, and we've tried a few times over the last few years, and today, you know, we had to be really patient and stick to our task today. It was a very, very difficult game, and fair play to Donegal, they made it difficult, but I think we showed great composure and patience to see it out.
How frustrating was it? Because there literally was no space out there.
Yeah, look, we expected it, so we probably weren't as frustrated as maybe people watching were. But, you know, it was going to be difficult to break down, and you had to be patient. And maybe, you know, changing some of the people helped us as well. You know, Kevin kind of got a bit more penetration when he came on the pitch. But, you know, we had said it before the game that we expected that, and we expected that we'd have to be patient. And I think the team showed fantastic composure in doing that.
You did find it hard to cope for long periods, and the sending off really changed the game, but changed it in your favour.
Yeah, I suppose we were planning a substitution at the time, and then we kind of had to change our mind with that and take a defender off as well, and put on an attacker, and I suppose it did change the game to a degree. But like, I think the guys had started to step up just before that, and we were really getting on top of Donegal, and you know, there were gaps starting to appear, and I think we took good advantage of them.
You've been here before, obviously, and had huge disappointment at this level before. Was there a real sense amongst the players that you weren't going to let this one slip away?
Yeah, for some of the older lads, this was their fourth semi-final. A lot of the newer guys, it was only last year that they had experienced it. So we were very determined when we left here last year. We felt we left, we had a good chance in that game. In fairness to Cork, they won it and they went on to win the All-Ireland, and we were devastated for a while after that. So this is where we wanted to be. We wanted to get into the All-Ireland final, and we're there now.
Just your thoughts on the game and the style. There's been a lot of talk with our panel about the style, this defensive style that Donegal employ, and the game as a spectacle obviously wasn't very pretty.
I thought it was very pretty, actually. Look, I think if you have a way that's going to stop good players playing, you have to play to your strengths, and I suppose we don't have to worry too much about it being a spectacle. But I thought we played exceptionally good football in the last 20 minutes to get around it. So I suppose it's for others to worry about rather than me.
And now the dream final, Dublin-Kerry.
Look, it's another game. Dublin-Kerry, I think a lot is talked about it, but it really was only a rivalry in the 70s when Dublin gave Kerry a fair run of it. So hopefully now we'll think about it tomorrow.
Okay, well, congratulations today, Pat.
Thanks.
Jim, disappointment for you today. Your thoughts immediately on the game?
Well, I suppose at 6-3, we probably had a chance to go and win the game, but in fairness, Dublin came back very, very strong, and I suppose at the end they deserved to win, definitely.
You stuck to your plan in terms of the defensive system, but once Dublin hit the front, you really had no answer, I suppose.
No, well, I mean, obviously Dublin are very, very well advanced in their conditioning and I suppose their development as a team, and it kind of came through there at the end, and I suppose they wore us down today, and that was the way it was. But I suppose overall we'd be very happy with the year that we've had. The boys have become competitive again. They've put a lot of pride into the county. A lot of people sort of very excited for the last number of weeks, and that has been missing maybe for a few years. And they have a National League medal and an Ulster Championship medal, and they're, I suppose, in Croke Park today, mixing it with one of the best teams in the country. So we're happy with where we're at, I suppose, in relation to our development. It's just, can we push on now, I suppose, in the next 12 months and move up the ladder, and I suppose time will tell.
It has been a remarkable journey for you this year, but as you know, there's a lot of criticism about the way Donegal play football. What do you say to that today? I heard some of our panellists earlier describe this as the game from hell and anti-football.
Anti-football? Well, I don't think I'm anti-football, to be honest with you, and I suppose this team last year, what we were trying to do is win games and get the team winning games, and that's what we've decided to do with the team. And we don't make any apologies for that. We don't feel that we have to make any apologies about that. Our game plan today was based on trying and beat Dublin. We went into the game today 1-3 against. So it was it was a big challenge for our lads, and at 6-3 we had a very good chance to win it. And I would prefer to be competitive and to be winning championships and winning medals than to be going down in a blaze of glory like what Donegal have done for the last 19 years and getting nothing out of it. And I think the work that the players have put in since the turn of the year deserve medals, and they deserve to be achieving. And if we had to win there today when we were 6-3 and push on, there would have been an All-Ireland final now, and that's the holy grail for any Gaelic footballer. So that's the trade-off, and we don't make any apologies about that, and we'll move on now. We'll reevaluate where we're at, reevaluate the squad, and start all over again.
Okay, well, Jim, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks very much.
And that there, of course, the Donegal manager, Jim McGuinness. I'm fascinated, Colin Moore, by that interview, because in the heat of it all, he's obviously disappointed. They've had a chance to make an All-Ireland final. It hasn't worked out, and yet he's spinning the positives out of it. Let's face it, that's a good sign.
It is, yeah, and he's gracious in defeat as well. He hasn't made excuses. But, he talked about Donegal going down in a blaze of glory before. Well, to me, they didn't go down in a blaze of glory today. And, that's not disrespecting the players, because they have put in huge work to get here. But, I still make the point, football should be something greater than what Donegal are trying to do. He's made them competitive, that's fine, but he has to move on now and express themselves as footballers more.
He said they came down to beat Dublin. They came down with a plan to stop Dublin from playing, not to beat Dublin from playing. And at the end of the day, like I said, they hadn't a plan B positive to attack. And did they go out in a blaze of glory today? I don't think they did.
Well, one incident might have changed everything in this game. At the start of the second half, Colin McFadden got a chance of a goal. Now, had this Pat...
It was a first round game or a National League game today. A lot of people would have just left because as a spectacle it was awful.
Fair enough. That's reasonable argument, and that's the views of the guys. We're going to look at various elements to
what they were going to be like, and they stuck to that. Look, Jimmy McGuinness has a system. You will like it or you'll loathe it, but look, it's got him this far. And they really do work it well. And what it is about getting players down behind the back of the ball, as many players as you can. Niall McGee, who had a fantastic year on Diarmuid Connolly, and he gets some great shoulders in. Here we have a crunching fair tackle, which is great to see in the game. Now, in this clip, we stop it here. We can count the ones that are circled, but we ran out of circles because there's actually 12 people behind the ball there. 12, and 2 Dublin jerseys inside. Now, like, they had no hope of scoring from there. And look at this, the great disposition. Now he keeps them on the outside.
Okay, the contenders for man of the match, and it was interesting leaving Croke Park and people, you know, that how do you get a man of the match out of that match? Several people said to me.
Well, people did make a difference in the game, really, and we spoke already about Dublin and Kevin McMillan. And when Kevin came on at half-time, he did up the tempo, he got vital scores, he showed huge energy in what he did, you know, in everything. And when you look at Donegal, then you look at, OK, who played well for Donegal? Well, Colin McFadden, I thought, was very, very good for them. He could have got the goal just after half-time, took his point. He was a lone ranger up front, really, and there was 3 people marking him for most of the game, right? And the third person really we went for was Bernard Brogan. You saw from the clips there that we showed he was central to everything, got 4 frees and was the real main man up front for Dublin yet again in a hard game.
And Jason, who gets the man of the match award then?
We've selected Bernard Brogan. Dublin scored 8 points today. Stephen Cluxton scored 2 of them from frees. And Bernard was heavily involved in the other 6. He scored 4 from frees. He got fouled for all 4 of those frees. And he set up a point for Brian Cullen and set up another point for Kevin McManaman. So his contribution was vital.
Involved in all 6. It's funny because Alan Brogan has got, I may be corrected, Alan Brogan has won either 3 or 4 man of the match.
Nearly got all of them. Bernard never gave up today. He kept trying, and what was a difficult afternoon, and he kept showing hard. And as Dublin moored him down in the second half, he was pivotal to it.
Because to say he was marked tightly by McGee would be fair.
Good player too. McGee's a good player.
Good player,
a good player. And for him this year, I suppose, he's going to be double tagged this year every time he plays because of his reputation from last year. It did create space for the other forwards, and that's what's so tragic about the loss of Diarmuid Connolly for the All-Ireland final.
Okay then. Well, let's hear then from Bernard. Afterwards, he spoke with Claire McNamara.
Maureen King from Aircom is here to present Bernard with the Man of the Match award. Bernard, congratulations. Dublin through to an All-Ireland final.
Yeah, unbelievable. We've been working very hard over the last 3 years with Pat, and I think we got our just rewards today. Last year we were very unlucky, we left it behind by a point, but we really wanted today, and it was an unbelievable battle. We're delighted to get out on top.
How difficult was it for a forward out there today?
It was unbelievable. Never seen the likes of it before, and we knew it was going to be a tough game. We knew Donegal were going to pack the defence, and we were going to be hard to get on ball and stuff like that. But I never thought it'd be as tough as it was. Croke Park is a huge pitch, and for the team to block it up for so long, the last few minutes we kind of broke a few and got a few scores at the end. But for 60 minutes it was so tough, and we couldn't get hands and balls at all. We had to rely on a few frees and stuff, and we're blessed to get out there.
How frustrating is that for you?
Yeah, it's tough. Like, you just want to get out there and play football, and they're tough operators in the back line in Donegal, and they're big men, and they're hitting your clips and stuff. You know all about it, you know. But just delighted to get out there. Like it's where we want to be in Ireland final. It's first in 16 years. Like it's unbelievable, and we're delighted to be there.
You must have been happy too with the way Dublin reacted today when you were reduced to 14.
Yeah, in the past, let's say, like Alan, my brother said inside, and 3 years ago we wouldn't have won that game. We were really put it up to us, 45 minutes gone, like we were 3 points down, and like other teams in years gone by would have bottled, and then they would have pushed on, you know. And we really showed true grit and dug in there and got a few scores, and delighted with it.
Will you be expecting now a very different kind of game against Kerry in the final?
Yeah.